morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Hey. Check. 1 2 1 2. How you up there? You live at 85?
I think so, boss. Check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is this thing on?
Hear me?
Can you dig it, sucker?
You know about them old head movies.
Come on, man. I'm an old head. Tell him, Mama God. Don't let this young skin fool you. And the old soul since '93.
Heard that. All right, all systems go.
Grew up on Breaking and Wild style.
Man. Can you dig it? Ladies and gentlemen, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat timers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, November 1st.
Yeah, man.
2023. It's the first of the month.
Day.
You know what that means? The rent.
Ooh, my back.
We grown here, right? We grown.
Man, yeah.
Nothing going on but the rent, like
man.
90s. Yeah. So thanks for joining us in 6:30 Club. Thanks for tuning in to the radio channel this morning. Let us know how the mix was. The 6:30 Club over there on firstskyOmaha.com. The listen button. That's First Sky Omaha Radio for your Amazon Alexa. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, Chad Chimers. You guys have been going off in Friends of First Sky Omaha with much discussion, much news, much all the good stuff. So the conversation is absolutely continuing over on First Sky Omaha, our Friends of First Sky Omaha group page.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody's gotten up early this morning. Judy Prinzer first in the house. Good morning. Over there on Facebook says, good morning, family. Good morning to you.
Hey.
How are things with you? Give us an update on your health and all the good stuff. What's going on with you? Mama God in the chat. What's happening, Mama God? She gives us a good morning. Tamika Johnson gives us some sunshine over there.
Let it in.
It's cold outside right now. It's cold.
Man, 22.
22 degrees outside, bro. Not fun. Tried to fire up the Cadillac yesterday. It was like, I don't know. The convertible don't like this cold weather at all.
Man, I honestly, in the midst of shopping for a new car, and I just entertained the idea of getting the old school, but not just the winters, them summers too, man. They get too hot, like
yeah. I was gonna sell the Honda to get the old school, and I couldn't sell it in time, and I went ahead and got the old school, and I was just like suffering with thinking, man, I got to get that money, I got to replace that money back. About 2 weeks later, I was like, man, I'm keeping this Honda. I don't care.
Man. Yeah.
Yes, Falcor is definitely a weekend car. For sure.
Man.
And it's about to be a summer car. It's about to go into storage.
Right, that part.
I don't know.
Dragon.
I'll try you. Oh, no, Leia Keister in the chat says, what's up Wednesday? What's going on?
What's happening?
Yep. Mira Sanchez to my Warrior shot Cyrus.
Man.
That's what I said. What you know about them old school movies?
Come on, man. Warriors classic.
Pops in the chat. Good Wednesday morning, all, and mad love from Las Vegas. Appreciate you, Pops. I didn't know.
Man.
This morning, I know you had a late night, so appreciate you coming on through. Marlon Harrison says, good morning, family. Good morning. Brother Harrison, thank you very much for your contribution to Friends of First Sky Omaha group page with your article and your comments. That's what we like to see, man. People having some conversation beyond what's happening on here on the live. But we are glad that you're here on the live as well. Von Chapman in the chat. Present popcorn yellow striped smile. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Always you smiling. Always you smiling. Tamika Johnson cracking up. Judy Prinzler says surgery on Friday. Can't wait, but anxious and nervous. Need your prayers. Okay, I'm glad we
Definitely.
asked. That's what's up.
Definitely.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
couple days. So we'll be looking out. Make sure that you let somebody know to let us know what's going on with you if you aren't able to hit the keyboard, hit the phone.
Man,
Let us know how your surgery went and all that good stuff, and get some rest. Prayers out.
for sure.
Mama God in the chat said that drop two can be problematic in the heat. Can feel like a raisin. Yeah, I like the heat. I'm from California. I love
Okay,
the
okay.
sun beating down like that.
You said you grew up with them Cali raisins.
Man, come on. Didn't you hear it through the grapevine? Grew up with them Cali raisins. Not to mention, the main singer was Buddy Miles. He from Omaha.
Oh man.
Let me tell you something about them California raisin song. First of all, it was multi-platinum track.
Man.
They built a whole record company around it, and that record company eventually grew into Ruthless Records, where Eazy-E and NWA came.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah,
I
bro.
did hear about that.
California Raisin song was a huge deal, more than people know. Not to go off on a tangent.
Hey, man, look, just a little fun fact.
Yep. Mira Sanchez says Missy Elliott Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Love it. Oh,
Okay,
I didn't know that. That's what's up.
man, congratulations to Missy, man. Look at beautiful, aging fine like wine. By the way, man, I don't know if you've seen images of her lately, but man,
man. Should be
looking
working
good.
out. Should be working out. I'm trying to lose some weight like that myself.
Man,
Yep, she's doing the thing, man. She well deserved. She's also got into some kind of songwriters Hall of Fame or something like that recently too. So yeah,
yes,
I'm glad she's getting the flowers while she's here, bro. It's a genius.
man,
Genius.
well deserved. Yes.
Wanda Lewis gives us a good morning. Good morning to you. Appreciate you coming on in.
Hey,
This is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. Do have a special guest today. We're going to continue our conversation with Willie Barney from the Empowerment Network. He's going to come through. He said he's not going to be able to make it as long as he did last time, but he will come in for a segment, so we will be able to finish our conversation. We got a couple more questions lingering for him, and a couple more things too related to some of the events going on in the news right now, which is really interesting. We had a question for him last week about why all the juvenile justice centers, and then there's some things that happened this week according to the county that kind of went back on something they said they was going to do.
yeah, man.
Now we're running two, so we can be talking about some of these things. And as a matter of fact, what other stuff we're going to be talking about today? It's a heavy news day today, by the way.
Yeah, it is. We haven't really gotten into the news lately. Been a lot of interviews. So yeah, as Paul mentioned, definitely some updates on the youth facilities in the city. It was supposed to be closing one down and opening a new one, and the new one's been sitting vacant for some months, and a lot of questions about what's going on with the old one. And now we're hearing that neither is going to close down. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about what's going on with that situation with our juvenile justice system. Also, Douglas County is looking to use grant money on youth mental health services, which could be tied in. Again, we've seen that a lot of these facilities, a lot of these beds are requiring uh, cases. So again, what is the relationship between the mental health services that might be coming down the pipe and these juvenile justice services as well?
I didn't think about that. That's
Yeah, man. So definitely looking at that. Also, the money is coming in. We're keeping our eye, still following the money. Nebraska Department of Economic Development is sending out money, man. And letters are going out. People are receiving their funds from the LB 531 1024 funds. And I definitely want to talk about Charles Drew receiving $20 million, especially since they turned basically our only hospital in North Omaha into an apartment complex. Definitely looking at what's going on with our health services. All we got is clinics in the neighborhood. So what does this 20 million mean for Charles Drew and the greater community, really, at large?
Shout out to Kenny McMorris, though. He does good work over there.
Oh yeah, that's my cousin Kenny.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Come on, man. It's Omaha, man. It's Omaha.
True, true. If he
Yeah.
ain't your cousin, he my cousin, I guess.
Right, right. That part, that part. We might be cousins. I don't know. But anyway, continue. Also, looking at the homeless shelters. Again, a lot of our houseless brothers and sisters out there, man, struggling. Definitely as winter approaches and temps drop. Again, it's 23 right now in the Omaha area. 23 degrees, and a lot of people having to survive those environments. And now looks like a few of the shelters are operating over capacity, so it might be even harder to get through the winter. So we'll definitely talk about that coming up. And then also big shout out to again the chat chimers, all everyone in all the friends in the friends of page dropping these articles. We definitely have to talk about this shooting that happened with the off-duty Douglas County deputy, and also a project that or a group organization or project knows that we haven't really talked about. This is kind of my first time hearing about it, so I would definitely love to talk more about this organization that's calling for more accountability for the deputy involved. Again, Project Knows, which stands for Keep North Omaha Safe for Everyone. Again, I'm not familiar with this organization, so if everyone else or anyone else is, definitely let us know. Definitely let us know. But again, we'll definitely get into more, as Paul mentioned. We will be having Brother Willie Barney coming back through, so looking forward to that conversation. Get your questions ready, and as always, if there's anything in your hearts and minds that we are not talking about, feel free to again drop that into the chat. Let your mind be free. Let your voice be heard. But again, before we get into the show too much, Paul, how you doing, man? What's going on in your world?
Man, stressed. Work, and life has got me very, very stressed. I had one of the most stressful days I've had in a long time yesterday. Big time stress. So if the, I'm trying to hang in there. I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to stay on top of things.
Man,
But if this was me 20 years ago, I'd have been like, I'm out. Peace. I'll see you at the beach.
man, would have been right near the
Right,
beach.
I almost jumped in the car yesterday and drove to California. It was just like, that's it,
Man,
done. Like one of them kind of days. But those days come and go. This was one of the worst ones yet, though. This is I haven't been this stressed out here on just life and work at the same time. This bad in a long time. So I'm kind of glad. As a matter of fact, what I did was called a friend that I knew that would hear me out, let it out. You know what I'm saying? All the
got a
frustration.
vent.
Gotta vent it out. Got I decided to cut my to-do list down to a couple more things in order for me to be like, I'm gonna get these two things done, then I'm done. I don't care what else is going on. Cut that back, finish them two things, got to sit down, chill out with a little sense of accomplishment on that, and just give myself a break and chill out for the rest of the night. So that was how I kept from burning everything down and driving away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Man, sometimes you got to unplug.
I'm sitting here thinking about it right now. What did I do in order to get past that stress? So, because I know what I would have done as a younger dude, and 20 years old, I'd have been living in another state by tomorrow, like peace.
Man,
So that's what's going on with me, and it's a good thing. And then I got some sleep. Then I went to bed early, got some sleep, got some real sleep. I got to add that part on there too.
that'll go a long
Um,
way.
and got up this morning, man, and went through and realized what kind of news day it was. Anticipating some questions here for Willie Barney, and just concentrating on the show, and knowing I was going to be able to speak to all of you, all the chat chimers, the first Sky Omaha fam, and that always hypes me up in the morning. So that's what's up, man. That's what's going on with me. So I
Man,
appreciate you asking. I don't usually have that long of a story, but it
yeah.
is what it is
Well,
today.
I appreciate the transparency. I appreciate the transparency and the honesty, and life will life at times, but it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and get back up. And Stephen Abraham in the chat giving us some tips as well. Appreciate you, brother. He says, remember, we have good and bad stress. Recognize what bad stress is causing this disruption and meditate to your action to address it. Man, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, for
definitely had
sure.
some bad stress yesterday. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And one thing I always tell Mama Guy, man, that stress, it can weigh on you physically. So, let's try to minimize that as much as possible, man. We love you.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Everybody else out there that's struggling with some things right now. I'm thinking about all of y'all for sure. So
Word, word.
it's time to definitely buckle down, take care of each other, and all that good stuff. So I appreciate it. Mama Guy, speaking of Mama Guy, she said, good friend in DC ghosts your show frequently. Told her that Dr. Umar was Monday guest, and she checked out the show. She truly enjoyed the show.
Good,
That's what's up.
good. That's the
Appreciate
definition of telling a friend to tell a friend.
Yes, and you guys please do that as well. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that this is a fresh edition of First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning,
In the morning.
going down right now on this November 1st. Welcome. Let's start the show.
Let's
What up? What up? What up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Once again, you're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
in the morning.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Chat Chimers, Ghost listeners, radio listeners. Thanks for joining us again. It is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023.
Man.
Lots of news, big news day today. We'll definitely dive into it, and then we have a special guest coming on for our continued conversation with Brother Willie Barney from the Empowerment Network. So if you guys have questions, get your questions together. We definitely have some questions that we needed to finish that we didn't get all the way through on the first go, and then some new things that have come up since we spoke to him last week that we can tie into some questions for him as well. Still want to hear a little bit more about Carver Bank, some of the other things that's been going on, like Buddy you were talking about. So can't wait to speak to him and definitely anticipate this next conversation. Also, it was told to us by Brother Cassine that they had a conversation. I can't wait to hear what that was too.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
So yeah,
Good time on that.
lots coming up, and I appreciate everybody that's joined into the chat this morning. As a matter of fact, I was looking in the chat just a second ago. I saw something that was pretty interesting. Well, first of all, Stephen Abraham in the chat, good morning, says we made it through another rotation. Good morning, grand rising, everyone. I love
Peace.
Oh, Pops, earlier in the chat said Missy has some of the greatest videos, too. We were talking about Missy Elliott earlier.
Yes.
Getting her flowers right now. She was a pioneer when it came to music, but also music videos, man. She defined the 90s as far as I'm concerned with music videos.
Man, I think like her and Busta Rhymes probably had some of the most iconic videos throughout the 90s. Him and Janet, with the silver video everywhere. I think that was like the most expensive video at the time. Legends.
When I think of videos from the 90s, it's always Buster, it's always Missy. Of course, Dre with the Chronic, the iconic G Thing video. I think who else do I think of as far as 90s videos, man, was a trip. They don't do videos like they don't do videos like that no more.
It's not the same, man. It's not the same.
Unfortunately, nothing is. You a young cat saying that too, man. That's what trips me out. Like, I know I'm too old for whatever is happening in hip hop in these days. I don't get it. But like I think it's a consensus with everybody. Like, something is definitely different with the music situation these days.
Oh yeah.
Comes to hip hop and black music in general. So we hold on to the good old the golden days.
Man.
What it is. Judy Prince in the chat says healing is possible. May it be so. Healing is happening. May it be so. It sounds like a little prayer there, because we believe that what we need most are the hearts of each other now. Quote from Orion Johnstone. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah, healing is possible. May it be so. I heard that. Love it. Stephen Abraham says, question for Willie. Does the Empowerment Network have a lobbyist working to improve the conditions in North Omaha? We've been talking about lobbyists.
Great question.
Lately. Somebody just had a lobby school class that just passed.
I want to say the table.
Was it Nebraska? Yeah. Yep. And also I think Brianna Fool was talking about this as well. So
yeah.
This like I said, it was a new one on us a new one on me anyway, when we started talking about this a couple of weeks ago. We've been talking about lobby groups and lobby training and stuff like that for a long time, but it didn't click for me until a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about, what can we do? What's the advocacy? How can we be advocates here? What can we do? Why are some projects and subjects and bills getting attention that others don't? And it really has to do with the fact that these lobbyists are kind of standing around in the legislature, man, trying to change minds and talk to folks.
Posted in the lobby.
posted up. So can we do that? Can we figure out how to post up, and so on and so forth? So it's a good question for Brother Barney, and everybody else, every other person that has any kind of organization that's just trying to make some change, especially in North Omaha. Where's the lobbies? Where the lobbyists at? Good question. So we'll definitely present that to him when he comes on. But in the meantime, between time, let's jump into some news before he gets here, if you don't mind, buddy. What's on top of mind for you?
Yeah. Hmm. We can really go any direction with any of
Yeah,
it.
it's all good today.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and dive into
Maybe we can save the one about the juvenile justice
Yeah,
center.
yeah.
For the
I'm
article.
definitely excited to talk about that, but we can wait.
Yeah,
Now
we'll
let's
go.
go ahead and dive into this homeless situation because it is getting cold.
Man,
Yeah. And again, and it looks like centers are running at capacity. So I definitely have to find some solutions for our houseless brothers and sisters. This is reported by WOWT. After spending a Nebraska winter homeless inside 2 years ago, Michelle Case still isn't sure how she survived. Honestly and truthfully, it was by the grace of God. Other than that, I do not know. Case said she's still experiencing homelessness, but after that frigid winter, she got a call that there was a bed for her at the Stevens Center. So again, that kind of answered our question. Just a side note, if you remember, actually last week, I think we talked about the new tiny homes that were unveiled at the Santa Francis House, and again, we're asking about any other facility. So again, the Stevens Center is one that I'm not familiar with. But again, Case says I was really happy because I know the winter that I stayed in that tent. It was so cold. I just wanted someone to come to me and say, look, we've got a bed for you. But again, that might not be the case for many others. Others aren't so fortunate. At Stevens Center, when temperatures started to drop, calls for help quickly poured in. People were calling by the dozen, according to Beth Ellis, who's community engagement director at the Stevens Center. She says not having safety and security from the elements during the winter seasons here in Omaha is just inhumane. It's heartbreaking. About 230 people live there at the Stevens Center campus. Currently, there are 4 individuals in a family over capacity, but they do work with other shelters to find people a place to stay. Open Door Mission is another shelter in the metro area that people can go to. Right now, Open Door Mission has about 50 people in overflow, so they're reaching capacity as well. While space is limited in metro shelters, clothing donations make a huge difference. According to officials so far in the month of October, Open Door Mission secured or served over 680 more families through outreach than this month last year. So that's why donations are so important for shelters. Again, this is something that we mentioned in the show when we were talking about the tiny house story. Maybe a coat drive, or maybe we should think of something as a as a forum, as a community, to help our homeless brothers and sisters.
or
Because yeah,
or better yet, maybe let's connect with somebody who's already doing that, because there's several organizations already doing it. I think Culture House got something going on.
okay,
So yeah, we find the ones who are doing something, enhance that, make it bigger.
yeah, I'm with that as well. Again, for those interested in donating, both shelters are asking for winter coats. In addition to that, sweatshirts, gloves, hats, and scarves, and maybe socks too. Again, you definitely underestimate how important socks are, especially for our houseless brothers and sisters.
Yeah. When I first, coming from California, when I got out here, I had on shorts and flip flops in the in the in the blizzard of 2010. So I had to learn how to do stuff like layer, and all the stuff that you got to do when it starts getting cold outside, and it just makes me think of that every time I see anybody standing out. For my first thought is, man, I hope they got a few layers on here, because it's gonna be rough out here tonight.
Man,
And it's gonna get, and we just now, I mean, we just now dipping down, and it's cold enough already. So yeah, I definitely think it's a good idea, boost to the root style. Connect with some organizations that are doing things and really getting some supplies and stuff to the people, and help that out in that way. And then also keep our eyes open for the solutions. There's got to be more. There's got to be more facilities to be able to go into, and be able to,
mhm.
some cities open up their gyms sometimes so that people can come in and sleep on the gym floor
Yeah.
too, just to be somewhere warm. I mean, I don't know all the things that are going on, but it'd be worth it to find out, because I can, especially here in North Omaha, they passed that law that you can't be standing out on the corner, asking for money.
Yep, yep, I do remember
It
that.
seems to be enforced everywhere else except North Omaha. A lot of folks
Hmm.
come from other places, other sides of the city to go to North Omaha.
Hmm.
They don't do a whole lot of enforcing with that. So we happen to drive around here and see a whole lot of people in trouble that are kind of be 2 and 3 or 4 at a light sometimes at a corner. So we see it firsthand all the time, and we need to kind of keep our eyes open on ideas on what to do to help people out.
Yeah.
Like Wanda Lewis said, wind chill is a factor. Feel like 14 degrees.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
real. That's real. Stephen Abraham also come in with some interesting information. I think he means Omaha. He says Nebraska is the only state. Okay, no, Nebraska is the only state in the region that has wet and dry shelters.
Mhm.
Wet means you can come in under the influence of substances, and dry simply means not under the influence of substances. With that being said, many individuals come from other states to use our shelters. It's also important to understand the levels of homelessness as well. Yeah, yeah. If you have some statistics, I'd like to see that, brother
Bro,
Stephen.
can you? Nebraska is the only state in the region, so all around us, they don't let you in a homeless shelter. All around us, with the same weather that we got, they don't let you in a shelter if you under the influence of something. So people who are addicts or got some kind of problem or can't get in out of the cold. That's crazy.
Man, I mean that kind of goes to the stigma around addiction and treating people like criminals for being sick.
Goodness. Rome's review says Beth Ellis's success story herself. I want to hear more about
Okay,
that.
yeah,
And,
maybe have
and
her on, talk to her.
Wanda Lewis said wind chill factor feels like 14. Julie Prince says Project Hope for food and clothes. Okay.
Okay.
Project Hope's another one. Yeah. We should also check in with Brother Willie Hamilton. I know that he's been doing a lot too with food distribution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if he's doing anything with any kind of like clothing distribution and stuff like that too. So again, checking in with some of the organizations that already exist and see how we can enhance and help.
Yeah,
Might
this
be
would be a good time to shout out our partners over at Heart Ministry Center. Again, they
yeah.
have yeah, yeah, man. I mean, they got not only I think the largest food pantry in the state, if not the region, but also they have laundry services, they have a clinic. Man, it's a lot, it's a lot over there, man. I think they have like some childcare programs and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, big shout out to Heart Ministry Center. Definitely check them out as well. If you or someone you know is in need.
absolutely. Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, speaking of that, let's keep it moving, man. Let's go ahead and jump into this next article. And this is something that we've actually been talking about. Big shout out to the reader. I mean, the reader, Princess Leia, I believe, covered this story. If you remember her, again, Leia, and TANF, TANF, or Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, which has been under some scrutiny really for a while because the surplus that the state has built up over time, and now there's a tug of war that's brewing over that surplus, according to KETV News 7, who reports that this tug of war appears to be brewing. Every year, the federal government sends about $56 million to Nebraska, but apparently Nebraska doesn't spend all of it. In fact, the state auditor, Mike Foley, has said over the years that the state has built a surplus of over $125 million. That's well over 200% of the annual allotment. So again, why is this money not being spent, and what will it be spent on?
Mm.
Is a big question, and there are a few ideas being thrown out, especially at this latest legislative panel, which took place on Friday. Um, uh, Foley, again, who's the state auditor, spoke at this panel saying that Nebraska is sitting on TNF balances well in excess of 200% of the allotment of federal funds made to us. No other state in our region ever comes close to that. State Senator Daniel Conrad would like to see the program updated to increase cash payments to families and make them more accessible, saying that those funds should go directly to families and who need them to help cover gaps that other programs don't cover. Also, the Department of Health and Human Services has their own plan on what to do with those funds. They outline a number of programs in place or pending that may meet the federal goals of TANF and would deplete the surplus in about 4 years. That plan includes direct payments to families, but also reducing dependency through job training and marriage, also preventing pregnancies out of wedlock, and encouraging two-parent families. Yeah, very questionable with this DHHS plan. Definitely want to talk about that here in a second. But also another plan or idea that's been thrown out is a work group currently examining changes in the child welfare system. They say that they're looking at tapping a $3 million a year budget from that fund for prevention program. So again, several ideas being put on the floor as far as what to do with the $125 million in excess for the temporary assistance for needy families. But what say you on this DHHS plan, man? This is kind of questionable, if you ask me.
Yeah. That kind of threw me for a loop there.
Yeah, let me go through this list again. Again, the Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, the same people dealing with our child welfare system, and yeah, you know who I'm talking about. This plan includes direct payments to families, which I don't think anybody can disagree with. No middleman, just help the families out. This is kind of where it gets questionable. Again, reducing dependency through job training and marriage. Yeah, that could be a discussion,
For
but
job training and marriage, how is that even together?
right. Yeah. I don't know how this marriage. I mean, I can see how two incomes can help with that, but how do they plan on urging people to get married? That's kind of my question. And then how do they plan on preventing pregnancies out of wedlock?
They didn't threw some religion in there, man.
That's the sense that I get. That's the sense that I get. I'm yeah. I don't see how this happens. How that will work.
And even if we believe in those concepts of marriage and not having kids out of wedlock, how do you make that into a policy with your nonprofit or with your county organization or city organization,
That's
whatever,
state.
or state organization?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
How is that? How do you make that policy? How do you do that? Does money go to churches to preach that to them? What you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, man.
where's our state dollars going to on that front? Theocratic values. Yes, thank you, Marianne Williams.
Yeah, so there's actually a link for this. Apparently, the DHHS put out a news release a couple of days ago on the 27th. It says the Department of Health and Human Services has released a temporary assistance for needy families expenditure plan for fiscal year 2024 through 2027. The plan intends to continue funding current TANF funded services and introduce 5 additional services pending approval. So those services include a food bank service, child advocacy centers, court-appointed special advocates. The court-appointed special advocate services are provided by screened, trained, and highly qualified community volunteers who advocate in court for the best interests of children who have experienced abuse or neglect. Okay. Cedar Homes for Pregnant and Parenting Teens. Cedars is a supportive living arrangement for pregnant or parenting teens under 20. To be a resident, a pregnant or parenting teen must be unable to live in their home because of abuse, neglect, or other extenuating circumstances, and domestic violence services. So this plan doesn't quite expound on those questions as far as how they, but it does lay out those plans. It says to provide assistance to needy families so that children may be cared for in homes and or homes of relatives in the dependencies of needy parents or on government benefits by promoting job preparation, work, and marriage. Yeah, I don't know how how they plan to promote that and also prevent and reduce the indecent and incidents of out of wedlock pregnancies. It's not saying how they plan on doing that.
Well, I think this kind of leads me to think that we always talk about the hoops that people got to jump through to get some help.
Man,
And I feel like if that's one of their tenets, then they're going to be less inclined to help somebody that doesn't live up to that's not living up to the standard that they are setting with those things. For one thing, that's one thing that makes me think of. Um, I don't know. Stephen Abraham in the chat says Nebraska DHHS has rules that seem to exclude individuals in need.
there you go. There you go.
Hence the need for nonprofits within the most vulnerable communities. Interesting.
Yeah. Marianne, I think Marianne pretty much hit it on the head, like you said, theocratical values. Like this is kind of that old Christian values kind of
Well, I mean,
tiptoeing
we
his way in.
like I said, it was one thing to have the value. It's another thing. How is it being implemented with with state money? This is
Right,
what
right,
I don't
right,
care
right.
about. I don't care about what you know. Say don't. Everybody's gonna have their own values, but the question is, what does that mean for what kind of help you give people? You know, if there really are theocratic values, theocratical values, and you know, if this is because of I mean, not if it definitely is theocratic values. So if they're if they're wanting to encourage marriage and encourage having having kids within a whatever they call it their structural family type of relationship that's that to me is like it just reminds me of like how the state some it's that whole like church and state
Mm,
situation and it just makes me wonder how do you implement that. So if you happen to be if you happen to have a child out of wedlock, do you not get help?
man.
Or if you decide that you're not getting married, do you not get help? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
And and furthermore, they specifically use the language prevent out of wedlock pregnancies. I'm not sure how they do that.
You getting sterilized? What's happening?
And furthermore, what's very interesting, this is a conversation we had here on the show too, is these same types of programs led to the dismantling of a lot of families. Like we've talked about, Mama God has told me about memories she has of DHHS and people coming into the house making sure there's not a man there so her mom can get some services. And now they're gonna turn around and, say you gotta be married.
Wanda Luce in the chat says back in the day, marriage was discouraged in order to receive benefits. Now they want to count two incomes, which means benefits for a shorter term, putting the pressure on both parents for job security. So you get that's what I'm saying. Here's one way right there. You get benefits. You have a shorter period of time to receive benefits. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we're gonna give you some money, but only until you better get married in 6 months or else your benefits gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? Like what this is the kind of stuff I'm wondering about or worrying about there. Like can we just because of these hoops, man. They always got people jumping through hoops. They always got these standards that they put out. They can't just help people that need help. It's always like, well, how long do you need help for? Well, what are you doing in your life that you would need help? Well, you better stop doing this and you better not do that in order to keep getting this help. That paternalism that we always talk about. It feels like Marianne Williams says many states are ending no fault divorce too. Maybe it's harder to end a bad marriage. Yeah, that's I can go off on I can go off on a tangent about how I don't believe that you should get married for economic reasons in the first place. We kind of not doing, that's a lot of different countries and things in the past. I don't really believe in that. I think there's kind of a real messed up mentality for you
Mm-hmm.
to have to be a thing. Well, I better hurry up and get married so I can just have some health insurance and survive. Like
Man.
so we can have two incomes because everything costs so much and everything is so much for that to factor into your decision whether or not you want to actually like raise a family with somebody is crazy to me in the first
Mm.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Yeah.
going off on a tangent here,
I
but
mean, I mean, as somebody with a family, I would definitely say that shouldn't be your driving. It definitely helps, that those are definitely benefits, but that shouldn't be a driving factor because you know financial problems do happen, and when that's your kind of driving factor, what does that mean for the marriage?
Vaughn Chapman in the chat, good morning, says to be poor and disadvantaged is to be a victim of predatory system. Yes, I mean it comes back to that. We're at the mercy of policymaker, people that are putting these kinds of rules in place. Sean McCarthy says another issue: what happens when God forbid the husband or wife dies? You can really bounce back and get remarried in situations like that.
Right.
You can't really bounce back. Yeah. Jamila Eves in the chat. Good morning. It's the name I
Morning.
haven't seen. It's about control, right?
Yeah, man. Red tape.
Tony Johnson says marriage was built on economics. I mean, the whole thing is that you go into a contract with a person, just like you going into like you have a business partner,
Mm-hmm.
which is the marriage contract. A vow to each other and commitment to each other is one thing. To be legally recognized as marriage is an economic thing. Is necessary for you to actually have that so that contract. But it is a contract, and that's what I feel like. It's like marriage is built on economics. That's what you can go down a rabbit hole when it comes to that, and just I'm just thinking about like poor people in general. Poor Us poor folks, there is the time in our life when we are coming up thinking, we better team up in this way because like economics is going to be too tough, especially when you're young person. Yeah, I'm thinking about my young friends and family that got married really early.
Mm-hmm.
They was barely holding on to an apartment themselves, but now they got now they put that in that's the factor in whether or not they're going to grow economically. Is to like put marriage in there in place of that. Anyway, like I said, it's a tangent of mine. Stephen Abraham said TANF is more closely related to ADC. What is ADC?
Mm-hmm.
But TANF has guidelines that are very strict and usually connected to the must work or job search to get assistance.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going with that. That the situation of like who they determine how much what kind of job search you need to be doing, how fast you need to get a job. You're only gonna get temporary assistance. You got to go do these things. I understand pushing people to go do what they got to do in a way, but when you need help, you need help. So
Right.
the restrictions are the things that I'm really wondering about.
Yeah, and it's just how, because to an extent I do understand. Yeah, I do think it's kind of ironic how everybody's acknowledging the change of tone, like Brother Stewart said. They financed a single mother crisis in the community. Now they want to feel like they didn't do it. So that's very interesting, that
Right.
dynamic. That whole change in tone. But yeah, it's. I just want to lay out that I do feel like strong families, 2-parent households, marriage, like all of that does help. Like, I believe strong families lead to a strong
Yeah,
nation. I
of
mean,
course. Yeah,
that's just what it is.
yeah.
But yeah, to the point of not helping those in need because they don't have those things in order, is definitely wrong.
It seems like they need more help if they don't have family and stuff around them. Like
Right.
you gonna make them go get a family? Tony Johnson, who had earlier in the chat said marriage was built on economics, says religion and beliefs came later for ceremony purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Marianne Williams says marriage for convenience has always been a thing. Gen X was the first generation to tell daughters that they can do more than get married and have kids. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm Gen X. I don't know why I believe what I believe, but I definitely feel very turned off by this idea that you trying to up your economic situation is one of the reasons why you decide to marry somebody. It could be because of what Marianne Williams is describing, that I'm from the generation that is right past this idea of marriage for convenience. That even that phrase turns me off. Marry it ain't, first of all, marriage don't sound very convenient to me. I'm not married, so I don't know. But I'm just saying, like
I mean, having a companion, having a partner can definitely make things a little easier.
it
And
can also
just
make things worse.
if it's the wrong partner, yeah. Um, but I'm also thinking of and just the history of it and how marriage has been framed, especially for women. Especially for women, it's always been looked at as a means of upward mobility for women. Marry some high status. You know,
Not with it. We can come back to that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm not saying I agree with it or not. I'm just saying that's been the narrative that has been pushed for generations,
Yeah.
as far as
And like Marianne Williams says, but women had to marry to survive before.
Exactly.
Everything was what the man had to do. In order to.
To
Yeah,
provide.
I get it. But in this day and age, I don't know. Sean McCarthy in the chat. Good morning. He says my dad died from a heart attack when I was 3. And for the most part, most of my childhood, I kept hearing the negative association of single mother households, and I kept thinking, why are they blaming my mom?
Man,
Tough,
man,
tough. Yeah,
that's heavy. But thank you for sharing that. That's
yeah,
but again, it just goes to the stigmas, man. Like, yeah.
yep. 7:44 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, we got our special guest waiting in the wings. We'll take a quick break and come right back and bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, Willie Barney from the Empowerment Network will be in just after this break. So thanks for joining us. Get your questions ready. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners. We'll be right back, y'all. Stay tuned.
the break of dawn. Do whatever makes me strong. Worry about the right and wrong. Time to get my hustle on. Hustle till the break of dawn. Do whatever makes me strong. Worry about the right and wrong. Living in the HIC. Brothers all surrounding me. Ain't no futures here. Just lives full of pain and fear. Time for a different stroke. I'm tired always being broke. Me and just about all my folks. Tired of being without hope. So it's time to get my hustle on. Hustle till the break of dawn. Do whatever makes me strong.
Welcome back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
That's right. Paul Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you Chad chimers. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have our special guest coming back for the second time in a week. Ladies and gentlemen, brother Willie Barney is in the house.
Hey.
Good morning.
Welcome
Good
back.
morning, brothers. Good morning. Thanks for having me back. Looking forward to the conversation, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us.
How you doing, man? How you been? What's going on with you
Man,
this week?
feel good. I appreciate it. I appreciate that question last week. Appreciate it this morning. Family's doing well. Son and daughter. My wife is doing well. Blessed, man. Health
Good.
is
How old are you?
health is where it's at.
How old is your son and daughter?
My son is, matter of fact, he just turned 22.
Okay.
And, I've got a 16-year-old daughter that will be 17 in February. So just blessed, man. Just thankful and really grateful.
Man. Well, actually, let's kind of start there because we're talking about families. We're talking about what families need. Talking about families being the backbone of a strong community, things like that. Your daughter is 16. Is she in OPS?
Yes. Yep.
So
Yes, she is.
let's go ahead and jump in.
Both my children attended OPS. Yes.
Okay, well let's go ahead and jump in then, because that has been one of the big things as far as our conversation and chat chimers comments about the Empowerment Network as far as schools, what's going on in our schools. And let's just start with just getting your take on it. Again, we've had brief full on it a few times, but what's your take on where our schools stand as far as OPS?
Yeah, there's some good things going on, but there's a lot of gaps and there's a lot of work ahead. And I think we've been through waves in the work that we've done with OPS and in partnership with OPS. There have been times where with concentrated effort in specific schools where the school has aligned resources, the community has aligned resources, that we have seen substantial improvements in reading, specifically reading performance and proficiency, and then math, and then also increases in kids taking AP dual enrollment. But it has to be concentrated. It requires an increase in scale of investment, but it is possible. And so I can show like 3 or 4 different waves where that was happening. And then there's some kind of interruption. There's a change, whether it be in leadership, there's a change in funding, there's a change. And then it's almost like you're rebuilding. And in some cases right now, as we've been having what we call our cradle to career meetings the last couple of months, bringing that back together, where we have 40 plus agencies that are around the table, specifically looking at what are we doing to increase reading proficiency, 3rd grade, 4th grade math, 8th grade algebra, 10th grade and 11th grade ACT scores, getting enrolled in dual enrollment. So yeah, there's some progress in certain areas, but there is severe need in others. And many times what I've seen, it is a big investment and requirement in order to really meet the goals that the community has. But there are pockets of success that can be taken to scale.
Okay. Definitely like that scalability. We're all about solutions, finding what's working and how to build upon that. So speaking of that, actually a question that you got last week in regards to the preschool to prison pipeline, and I hear this cradle to careers you're saying. So what is that? Can you speak a little bit more about that?
I appreciate the question. Back in 2006 and 7, when we were looking, this is back in early 2000, the graduation rate for African American students based on cohort related information was 55%. It was 55% of our kids graduating from high school. And we knew that was totally unacceptable. So we sat down and I personally created a scorecard to look at every school in North Omaha by the key variables that are most important for a school to be successful. And we mapped out and put those measures. That's why I keep saying reading proficiency at 3rd grade. Everybody talks about it. 3rd grade, depending on where we are, That is how they determine how many prison cells need to be created.
By the third grade.
Fourth and third grade.
Wow.
Fourth grade math. Eighth grade. If the kids are not taking algebra by eighth grade and they're really wanting to and intending to go to college, eighth grade is another measure. The last one, it's kind of switching now. ACT used to be the measure in the junior year as to whether or not they're graduating prepared for college or post-secondary. Now there's more research saying that grade point average and some ACT, but grade point may be a better indicator as to how prepared they are for college and post-secondary. And so with knowing that, we started to bring together partners and really hosting community forums around what needs to happen around these areas. So the cradle to career strategy goes from early childhood. Are we prepared for early childhood? K1, K2, reading at third grade, math at fourth grade, eighth grade. And so this scorecard has all of those indicators. And really for 10 years, we presented that scorecard at community meetings and published it, which the district really had never done before. And so that at least brought that information forward to the community. Then we could look at a school, for example. This is a real issue that came up. If you look at, and I was listening to your show the other day, Dr. Umar, talking about special education. Well, special education and number of students in special education has been an indicator on that scorecard going back to 2010. Another one is gifted and talented. You would have one school that has 20% of their kids in gifted and talented, and just a mile away, same neighborhoods, it'd be at 5%. So what is the implication of that? So a big part of what we've tried to do is bring that information to the table and bring it and make it more available to the community so that we can have informed discussions about what we need to do on a solution basis. And so that's cradle to career meetings. We've been through from McKeel to interim to Mark Evans to Dr. Logan, all the way through that. And there's been stops and starts along the way, but we have consistently brought people to the table and most importantly, shared that information with the community so they can be aware of what's really going on with the system. So we can have a true conversation and then also take action.
So I just have a follow up to that as far as the data, the numbers that you say that you're pulling and presenting to these meetings. This just makes me think of, a similar situation where our brother Leo Lewis and Sharif Lawaru tried to address, suspensions, especially for our younger folk in OPS. And from our perspective, OPS didn't really respond the best. I mean, we feel like they fired brother Sharif Lawaru for the role that he played in that. So my question to you is, how responsive has OPS been to some of those numbers that you're saying you're pulling and presenting?
And it's gone in waves, and there's different approaches. But I can tell you, and one of the things that we presented really consistently, and I would love to share it with this group and anybody that's truly interested in seeing our kids be more successful. There are waves of things that have been successful, and the best one that we had was a marriage of what I mentioned before, where we identified schools with the highest level of poverty. We worked with OPS. They created an initiative called REACH initiative, and they aligned reading and math literacy coaches. They aligned mentors and counselors and other services to those specific schools. And then the after school programs and the mentoring programs and support services and basic services also wrapped around those schools. That's a community school model. And when we had that, we saw reading proficiency in some schools go from 40% to 70% over a 3-4 year period. For me, it was the most substantial, measurable increase in reading proficiency that I've ever seen inside of the Omaha Public Schools District. On the backside, there was a program when I first moved to Omaha that it was called Bridges to Success.
Yep, I remember that.
And they would have 300 to 400 primarily African-American students engaged in dual enrollment. That was in 2001, 2002, 2003. It was probably one of the most effective programs at getting more of our kids enrolled and ready to go for college that I've ever seen. Well, it was discontinued. So your question is right on. There are things that we have seen to be incredibly productive if we collectively come together at the table around that data, not to throw rocks, but to figure out what can the district do, because there's stuff that they have to do, but there's also things that we as a community can do to improve and make sure that our kids are successful. Let me say this on that. If you look at the models, and this is going from research going back 50, 60 years, if you take a high poverty schools, those kids absolutely can learn. You just cannot discount the fact that those kids can learn and they are able to move forward with it, but there's additional resources that it requires to be successful. Every model that I've seen, whether you call it a public school, charter school, private school, at the end of the day, in these schools, it's $1.5 million to $2 million more resources are needed in that school to help it reach those goals that we all want. And again, you can debate it, but research over, you want to call it a turnaround school, a focus school, a village school, a community school. At the end of the day, in those elementary schools, it requires $1.5 million to $2 million more in that school to help them be successful.
That's interesting because we have again, we're hearing from the senators and Bree Full, who's on the OPS board, that currently OPS is not asking for more money or is asking for less money, actually lowering their levy. So that is very interesting.
Yeah,
But
we
Paul,
need to have that conversation. We need to have that conversation because every model, and one of the reasons I shared last week when I was here about the transformation plan. So we put together, based on education, housing, employment, ownership, business entrepreneurship, a strategy that says it requires $1.4 billion over a 5-year period. That's just 5 years. And then more than that, if you're looking at 10, 15 years of investment. Part of that was because of what we knew what was required inside these schools to help them be successful. So yeah, that's a question. We work with OPS quite a bit. I actually raised the question earlier this week. When I hear someone say that we don't need more resources, someone's going to have to really walk me through that, how we got to that conclusion. I realize there's some political challenges in our state, but at the end of the day, we really need to have an answer to that question when we see what's happening with our kids. And then the pandemic has made it even more challenging. I was reading the other day, at least 17 million families across the United States are telling us right now that they're struggling just to get food, basic food. And when Willie Hamilton hosts his food deal every 2 weeks, you see a line wrapped around 30th to Ames to down the boulevard. So that's what's going on in the community. That's the real need that's there. While there are opportunities, the reality of what we're facing, what our families are facing, it has to be addressed. And it only can be addressed collectively.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge one of the things that we were talking about. You mentioned the ATC scores earlier, and Marlon Harrison in Friends of First Sky Omaha, he put this with some comments out there. I'm not going to read his whole thing, but he did talk about there's no his opinions. There's no correlation between ATC scores and success in life. Some of the other highlights he was saying is South probably. Let me see if I can pull something else out. He said test scores are not equivalent to academics. So he's naming some of these things. This is the chart that he put up there. He was talking about ATC scores for class of 2023, and they were showing about the different scores that's going on here. And him is working in education, and other educators are also echoing that idea that we got to get off of those as the standard here. So I'm interested in the set of criteria that you put forth in order to judge the schools. I would like to definitely take a closer look at that. I also wanted to jump into the chat real quick, and there was a couple things here that I wanted to mention. That Tony Johnson says your community is mainly agency people paid to operate in North Omaha. I wanted to address that comment right there. It said your community is mainly agency people paid to operate in North Omaha. There's a lot of consensus there. A few chat chimers have brought that up, mentioned that they're feeling like some of the things that the mayor wants to do that kind of is done through you, through the Empowerment Network, your organization. Can you speak to how much your relationship with any of the powers that be? I know you work with them, so it's hard sometimes to determine working with people or actually fulfilling the things that their tenants, what their
agenda.
Yeah, their agenda, right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. First of all, I think I shared last time, and this is one of the reasons why we consistently have community forums. People say we have a lot of summits and forums and conferences. Well, I can tell you that the village meetings at North High School, the second Saturday of every month, one of the things we do is poll residents, poll youth. So I can tell you, as far as people gathering the input of the community, you would be hard pressed to find an organization that has more information, more data directly from those most impacted. That's one of the reasons why other people are really looking at the Empowerment Network. This is not an on top, on high type strategy. I can tell you, I can show you, I can visually show you, I can show you the data that has come from the community as far as what the priorities are. And that's really the heart of what the community is as far as the Empowerment Network. That is everyday people that are doing things, trying to make a living, working 2 or 3 jobs, or in some cases might be struggling with certain issues, but everything that they give us and provide to us is captured and put into an overall strategy. And those priorities then are taken to the mayor, taken to the state senate, taken to others as far as this is what the community is prioritizing in these specific areas. When we first started, it was, as you talked about, reducing gun violence, reducing unemployment, and improving educational outcomes. That didn't come from Willie Barney. It didn't come from on high. It came from those community forums and meetings where 200 and 300 people. And over the last, since we've been doing this, it's well over 9,000 people have given us the input. 9,000, and we can quantify it. We can show you. I can show you the pictures. I can show you the data. I can show you the polling that occurred. That is what drives the strategy. And you're absolutely right. Much of this requires incredible resources. I had a conversation on Sunday. I'll let him speak for himself, but it was specifically around, we pay taxes. So when we go and talk to the mayor or the governor or the state senate or the congressman, it's about resources that are really due to the community. Mm-hmm. So it really does not make sense for us to say, well, we can't work with that elected official. That elected official is an elected official. And part of their responsibility, for example, with the ARPA funds, it was laser focused on qualified census tracts. Those are census tracts that have high levels of poverty, high levels of unemployment, and other issues. So those dollars are specifically allocated by Congress for qualified census tracts. Mm-hmm. Many of those are in North and South Omaha. That's why those dollars should be and must be applied there. So I would challenge anyone that has a question about that. Look at the actual information, look at the actual transformation plan, and recognize that that input and those strategies have come from the people most impacted, especially even our youth. We poll all of our step-up students. We actually take them to city council, and they present at a mock city council their recommendations on the budget, their recommendations as far as what they would like to see in North and South Omaha.
Yeah. I think we're a couple of us in the chat still reeling out the way I am too, that information about those 3rd grade and 4th grade.
Man,
that's a trip.
Yeah, that definitely stuck out.
And it's critical, man. That I'm sorry to jump in, but that is critical. I did some research and really had the opportunity to actually go out and present at Harvard and listen to the Harvard research on that specific issue. Some of this stuff has been talked about since 1960, and it shows what are the models to address high poverty schools. You can either have full integration and not just racial integration, but economic integration. That is one model. The other model is you have to have a certain level of resource and investment in higher poverty schools if it's concentrated poverty. And there's a few others, but this is not made up. This is not something, this has literally been documented. And 3rd grade reading scores, 4th grade math scores are the purest indication of where we're headed as a community.
Shout out to Ron's reviews for thinking what I'm thinking on that. Just to jump back into the chat a little bit. First of all, Brother Kasim is in the chat. He says, "Peace, fellas." Good morning, Brother Kasim. Definitely want to hear about the conversation you guys had. So yes. We'll come back to that in a second. And also, the one I want to come back to after I jump into the chat here a little bit is this breaking news here in the last couple of days here about the fact that they have voted to use both juvenile justice centers now. Where that wasn't the case before, and I'd like to get your opinion on those things as well. But first of all, Brother Knight in the chat says, so has 360 decided to take up those successful programs on a summer or after school basis? I'd like to learn a little bit more about the 360 program there. Also, Marianne Williams in the chat says, many colleges are no longer requiring ACT and SATs because of the testing. Testing is so flawed, for sure.
Yeah, there's been studies on that.
Yeah, and you said that before, Paul. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because the critical piece, and that's what I mentioned when I first started, that they're showing that grade point average may be a better indicator. And so because it shows in some cases, some people say, well, they're not taking hard classes, But the indicator, as far as research showing that grade point may be a stronger indicator than ACT scores because of a lot of different things and some bias. Now, I want to encourage our kids, take the ACT. As a matter of fact, there's something that we're having a scholarship series, and one of the things that came up, there's a fee waiver. Some of our kids aren't taking ACT. Some kids start in middle school taking ACT and working their way up. So by the time they see it as a junior, they've taken the thing 8, 9, 10 times. And our kids are seeing it for the first time. And so those are the kinds of discussions that we have to have, but at the same time, so continue to do ACT, kids, if you're listening, but also understand that your grade point average in what I think Marianne is saying, the other things like that, the MAP scores that the district, and that's another thing we'll have to come back to at another point, but there are some other indicators that are helping us better understand how to make sure that our kids are prepared for post-secondary, and just as importantly, prepared for careers and life. And have a marketable skill walking across that stage. Sorry to interrupt, Paul.
Oh, that's okay. No, I want to hear your thoughts on that for sure. Just to back up a quick second on that, you said that you have to pay to take the ATC?
Yeah, and there's a fee waiver. If you're of a certain income, this is, I've had 2 kids go through, but there's a fee waiver that you can apply for and get, and it allows you to take, I think, 4 times, take the ACT 4 times.
Yep.
And you can apply for it. It's a waiver that we have to make sure our community is aware of, because sometimes the kids don't take the test prep and don't take the ACT. So they're seeing it for the first time or the second time, where other kids in other neighborhoods, they're seeing it 8, 9, 10 times before they take the final one. And then you can select your best as the one that you submit to colleges. But again, I don't want to get so deep into it, because your grade point average is also very important. But it is important for us to know that these opportunities are available for our kids, and sometimes they just don't know.
I hear you. Kimber Snipes in the chat says, I feel some of these questions need to be directed towards our city council and mayor. What are they doing? I definitely echo that. Marlon Harrison, the brother I was telling you about earlier, is in the chat. He says, what is the Empowerment Network doing for our immigrant and refugee brothers and sisters? I feel like they are left out of the conversation when it comes to North Omaha. I will say, before you answer that question, that very important meeting that the BAA just had about gang intervention that we went to, they made it very clear about how they're working with our immigrant population, brothers and sisters there. There were some people represented there, and they made it very clear that their organization is out here for all Black folks, and that's what this is about with them. So I do know that there are some organizations, Brother Harrison, that are doing. But what is the Empowerment Network doing about our immigrant and refugee brothers and sisters?
Yeah, let me maybe tie this in, because I think you were going somewhere with the question around, has 360 operated and learned from, for example, the programs that we do in the summer, make them year round. So there's a few different components in that, and it'll come to what you just talked about. So Step Up is the youth employment program. That program was launched because we heard directly from young people, as far as those that were having issues in the summer. They needed employment. They needed a way to make some money. And so we created that employment program. We started with 150 kids that first summer, struggled through it, but we ended up growing the program to where right before the pandemic, we had 900 kids, primarily in North and South Omaha, now citywide during the summer. Because of the successes that we had, we looked at what does it take and what does it require to expand that summer program to a year-round program. So for the last 4 years, we've been in that process of 100 year-round, 150. This year we have 240. Might be 250 in the year-round initiative. And so they have continuous engagement with careers, career exploration, robotics, IT, culinary, sound design. We created our own studio. So the kids are getting exposed to STEAM in different ways. So that's one piece. On the 360 side, and connecting with immigrants, that's why the 360 table is a wide open table. Some people say, well, why? Anybody can walk in. You're right, because it's an open forum around reducing violence in the community, but reducing violence in the community through prevention and intervention and partnerships. And so Sudanese community, Somalian community, and others have participated at those 360 meetings, not on as frequent and consistent as a basis as we probably need, but we have had individuals come and participate. And we've also set up meetings. There was an individual organization, Sudanese community, that was trying to figure out how to set up their nonprofit. So they came to my office. We sat down, mapped out, setting up your board, setting up the financial structures. These are some entities, organizations that you can go to raise funds. And I do that quite often. People don't realize it. People may not say it, but I sit down with new executive directors or people that are looking to form a business or form a corporation or nonprofit. And we literally sit in my office and we walk through what I've learned. I'm not the expert, but 17 years later, These are the things that I have learned as far as running a business and then also leading and creating a nonprofit to do specific work. So hopefully that answered it. But we need to do better. But there are venues where those relationships have been developing.
Okay. Just let people know it's 8:09 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, Brother Barney, I know that you said you couldn't stay as long as you could last time. So just give me a heads up on your time frame there, because I mean we obviously can go on and on with things we want to talk to you about, and also hearing about the programs firsthand from you that some of us had questions about, and so on. I did want to quickly ask. I got one of the questions that was one of the hot seat questions from last week. I do have one left that we didn't get to from last week. I want to get to, but before we do that, I know that you. I'm interested because I know that you and Brother Kasim had a conversation. We haven't had a chance to talk to him yet about it. Well, here he is. As soon as we speak, he came in the chat. Brother Kasim says, had a strong dialogue with Brother Willie this past Sunday. I've concluded that he's my brother. Man,
I mean, we all we got, man.
Yeah,
we all we got.
That just choked me up right there, bro. Right there.
Just that one line again lets me know that was our. I know a lot of people in the chat had questions. I know there's a lot of feelings or what have the individuals might have about the Empowerment Network. But that was our main goal for having you on, is to bridge that gap. So to hear Brother Kasim say that, because at the end of the day, we all we got.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's on. Maybe even sometime, if it's appropriate to have us on. But I appreciate Brother Kasim, and I share with him. I hope it's all right, but I just share with him. We had a amazing conversation, and I think it's symbolic though of where we are as a community. That many times we're in opposite, polarized, but we don't realize how much we have in common because we don't have this communication, which you all are doing. And I want to, if nothing else comes out of this, the fact that Kasim and I had a conversation and the opportunity, because I'm sharing just because we need to do this. I didn't realize he even wanted to sit down. And so when he came on last week and we had that communication, and he said, I'm willing to sit down. Just that invitation and openness. And then I didn't just say, okay, I'll call you. I told him I'm gonna get in touch with you. I called him. He was doing some work. And so we had set it up, and we had an opportunity to sit down and talk and listen to each other. And as I said before, this brother, I said it last week before the conversation, when he is leading an effort to purchase land, 8 acres in our community, working with our youth, not only in sports, but helping with character and development and what it means to be an African-American, what it means to be Black in the United States and globally. You can't take anything away from that brother, because he's showing you self-determination. He's modeling it for you. And then to be open to say, hey, you know what? I've got a role. He's got a role. And I think that's primarily what I'm saying is, if we take the time to talk to each other and truly listen to each other, we're going to realize and celebrate the fact that everybody, every single person has gifts, talents, and strengths that they can bring to the table. And we're in a position, and we've always been in a position, that we must figure out how to work together. Man. It doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. Nope. But we better find some common things, 1 out of 10. But I can tell you that in the conversation with Kasim, we had way more than 1 out of 10 in common. And so it was a blessing to me, man. Kasim, I just want to say publicly, I appreciate your willingness and your openness to have the invitation to sit down, because that's exactly what we need in our community right now. We must have it. That's what it's about.
Man, I'm just, man. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me finish, Brother Kasim.
Go ahead.
I mean, just so everybody on YouTube can also hear it, because I know you can't really see his comment here. Again, he said had strong dialogue with Brother Willie this past Sunday. I've concluded that he's my brother! Exclamation point. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up here. Let's see. There we go. He says, let's see. There are so many things that have been unspoken, but I vouch for him and his mission. A powerful piece to the puzzle is his role in particular. That's what's up. He says, I challenge, let's see where I've lost my space here.
I got it if you want me to pick it up.
Yeah, go ahead, man. I mean, he
says, I challenge everyone in this chat. So, hey, listen up, y'all. He says, I challenge everyone in this chat that if you're not involved in some shape, form, or fashion, then get involved. I hear and see a lot of challenges, but not enough footwork. The treaty between us have been established. Get ready for it. And it's just funny because we're seeing in real time. First Sky Omaha, like the themes, man. Like we got to follow the money. By following the money, you recognize who's getting the resources, who's not, and then how can we direct it? How can we team up, make the team work, make the dream work? Like that's that's the goal.
And then put boots to the roots after
Exactly, exactly.
I love what Brother Stephen Abraham is saying. The war is on all levels. This is my philosophy. This is the reason why I do what I do and try to bring together who I try to bring together, because the war is on all levels. This is what we're understanding.
Yeah, man.
We got cats on the street that are dealing with the kids directly. We got brothers that are talking to the mayor who are trying to get policy change. You know what I'm saying? There's on all levels this thing is happening, and we need every group.
Every level, man. Everybody's got to bring what they can do to the table. So many times we take too much time attacking and going back and forth. As you brought up last week, the hub, tech hub. Why is Omaha not a tech hub? And what do we need to do collectively around that? Yes, we have $500 million that Senator Wayne McKinney were able to get, but we need 1.5 billion. We need 2 billion. We need. I just read an article yesterday. Efforts in Minneapolis to address and begin to really address the murder of George Floyd. The community, business, philanthropic community has come together, and over the next 10 years, they have committed to raising $5.3 billion to erase racial wealth gaps.
Well, you said
$5.3 billion, and they've already raised $1 billion. So when we came to the table and said we needed 2.4, 2.5, people looked at me like, what are you talking about? But now a city of similar size, actually a little bit smaller, when you look at the city proper, is coming together and saying we need to do 5.3 billion to address racial economic gaps over the next 10 years. They didn't say 100 years. They said 10 years. And within a year, they've already raised $1 billion. That's what I'm talking about. The only way you get there is collective. And it's focused, but we can't get there if we're throwing rocks at each other. Right. And again, I just appreciate you all. And you said last week that this station is focused on solutions. You have difficult, bold conversations, but you bring together people. And if there's no other example, what just happened in the last 7 days, man, it's powerful.
Man, thank you.
It really works to even when we get discouraged about what's going on our front, then hearing something like that really is like, yes, this is what we're doing this for. So I appreciate you, brothers.
Man.
It wouldn't work if you brothers wasn't available to speak to each other and open to speak to each other too. So I really appreciate that very, very much.
Yeah. And just want to recognize camera, man, repeating my saying, but man, no more time appropriate than now. Communication rules the nation. Like, it's 50 years of hip hop. I think about, as hearing you brothers say this, I think about Pac and Biggie. And those two brothers. I mean, Pac being a child of the Black Panthers, like, and their lives coming to an end because of the beef. And a lot of times you hear that whole West Coast, East Coast thing wouldn't have been what it been had those brothers talked. That's what I hear about all the time. They say, man, if only we would have talked. If only we would have talked. And so it's very interesting because things could have went different.
And to jump on that analogy too, when they would have talked, they would have figured out it was the media that was really causing this West Coast East Coast beef. So again, white supremacy in the way of some stuff and pitting two groups against each other and separating us. So we're all about this together and understanding like who the real enemy is, what the real problem is, and what it is that we need to be teaming up and fighting for. So I'm sorry, I knew he was going. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh, we about to go off on a tangent. But 8:18 right now, if you believe in the concept of time, Brother Barney, how are you on time?
I'm good, man. I got some stuff to do, but this honestly, there's no more important conversation than what we're having right now. And the reason I say that is we get divided in our communities, and talking to Leo Lewis and others have said it, but the streets and the suites, right? And the separation that has occurred for decades, if not longer, the streets and the suites, and don't get me wrong, there are people in all areas that play in different fields and different opportunities in different sectors, and we need all of that, and we also need to be able to take some time. And I said before, there's a perception that we only are in the suite and in the office. And I can tell you that we probably have the largest employment program for youth anywhere in the state, and have hired more kids and worked directly with them. Now, there are times where you have to pull back and say, okay, somebody's got to go raise the resources and then make sure that there's enough coming in. And again, I shared this and love to talk with Senator Wayne and Senator McKinney about how important it was to have the infrastructure that we have to help support what they were doing in order to get the money approved in the first place, and the mobilization that required, and the data that it required, and the systems and all the things that it required to support their work. And somebody asked about lobbying and how do you present and how do you share, and to know that we can only spend a certain percentage of our time with it, but able to spend time to help get 100+ people to testify, write letters, and in support of what those brothers were doing. That's symbolic of the infrastructure and the suites and the policy making, while at the same time, the street level brothers and sisters that are doing that 24/7 work, having to go to the hospital at the middle of the night at 2 a.m, coming to the street after something happens on the street, all of those different areas, purchasing land, starting businesses, helping people buy homes. Everybody that's doing something is a part of a collective to move this forward. So bridging that gap between streets and suites, so-called, that's the central issue right now for us as a community. And when we do that, we will get a whole lot more done.
Man, I know you're a radio media cat. You just came up with the phrase right there, between streets and suites, bridging the gap between streets and suites. I love it.
Yeah, man.
And that's not mine. I'm gonna give that to I believe Leo was the first time, and some others that have said it. That's not mine. So I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due.
Well, Leo need to put that on a t-shirt. Let me jump in. let me jump in the chat real quick. I do want to give Miss Gwen Easter a little minute here. Gwen Easter is Chad Chimer and a content creator class member, and a person who's becoming a beloved individual in the First Sky Omaha family here. She's in our child care. We can consider her child care expert. She says the cradle to career mixed development vision started as a Susie Buffett Sherwood vision to make OPS the hub of early childhood. They used empowerment and others to help push out Black daycares using their data, false data, and push narrative driven by OPS, the Buffett Institution. I worked hard to start my business and organization 24 years. I came to the table. I support you all. I picked up my boots, probably straps she's trying to say, over 24 years. I forgive, but this opens up wounds. Can you speak to your the Empowerment Network's involvement with Susie Buffett early childhood things? We talk a lot about some of our Black child care facilities that have to get closed down because of what happened there. Tell me about that.
Yeah, no, first, nothing but respect for Gwen and her role and her leadership. She did come to the table and we did have conversations, and I've offered at various times, and if we run into each other, to let's come back and have a conversation about that, because this is symbolic of overall what has occurred with our businesses, small businesses. We only have certain categories right now anyway. And first of all, let me go back. The piece about Susie Buffett starting the Cradle to Career, absolutely not true. Cradle to Career started with conversations in the community that then I took to Dr. John McKeel one-on-one and talked about, okay, look, there's stuff that the district has to do and there's stuff the community has to do. We can either throw rocks at each other, or we can sit down and have a formal conversation about the data and then decide how we're going to, as a community, address this data. Because it doesn't make sense for us to have one set and you have one set and all we're doing is throwing rocks at you, coming to the school board meeting and nothing happens. So he and I had that conversation early on, and then a few others, we started to map out. And really, the African American Achievement Council, going back to 98 or 99, part of the requirement was to have a scorecard. The scorecard was never created. And so in 2004, I took it upon myself to start pulling data from the state and actually creating that scorecard. That was the beginning of the Cradle to Career strategy. Where Gwen may be speaking to is there was a group back in 2008 and 9 called Building Bright Futures that was brought together, and it was mostly philanthropic organizations, including Susie, Dick Holland, and others. Dick has passed since, but the philanthropic organizations that Building Bright Futures was trying to look at, how do they invest money to address some of these issues. And we helped in facilitating some of those conversations, but our role was to gather and bring the data in. And that's all we had. And then at that point, once the data was available, we went back to doing what we were doing as an empowerment network. She's absolutely right. There's been an impact on our private businesses, our childcare centers, there are some opportunities, and I've shared that with Gwen, and I've invited her to let's sit back down at the table and strategize on where we go, because there are some resources, and there's such a great need right now. They need more child care centers than they've ever needed. And so this is an opportunity, and that's part of the other reason I wanted to come on with you all. There's major challenges going on in our community, while at the same time, there's some opportunities that I don't think our community is aware of. As an example, the childcare situation. People need more childcare. It's difficult to identify the workforce and grow the workforce. We need to address that, but there's more opportunity in here than we've ever had. The second part is there are opportunities as the challenges are coming. Places like MCC, Metropolitan Community College, you can go through a 6 to 8 week certification program and actually be paid to go through the certification program and walk out the door making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. So you go from 2 or 3 jobs to 1 job. You can spend more time with your family and your kids, but you're able to do that. But we're not having that conversation in the community enough to know that these opportunities, and that's just one of them, that are out here. And this is the time in the window. We've got to get our folks to get into those programs and those initiatives to maximize right now, because they won't always be there if we don't use them right now. So I hear you, Gwen. I definitely hear what you're saying. I've offered and continue to offer. Would love to sit back down with you. We have some different opportunities now than we had when we had those issues up front, where we can actually identify resources and help those businesses grow and expand, because the need is still there.
Yeah, and it just sounds like the need is going to grow, especially with the few $100 million that we're expecting, more jobs, more people working. They're going to need someone to take care of those children.
Yes, we have that issue is across the nation, but acute here in Omaha, in the state of Nebraska, where we were working to increase the number of child care providers. And it's actually now on the decrease because the workforce isn't there as much. Gwen would know better than I, and probably good for her to share some of that, because she has incredible insight on it with her experience, but also what she's been able to do in the face of that. But there are more opportunities. We need more people and resources around it.
Well, we've been hearing her story for a while now, and we definitely want to take the position, First Sky Omaha, of helping facilitate that conversation as well. If we can figure out some solutions and some some get-togetherness between what you guys got going on and her, and we'll continue to help as well. She, like I said, she came to the content creator classes, and we talked a lot about helping her consolidate her argument and her message, so that it can be heard more and more broadly. So we're going to actively help with that, and then if we can help facilitate some conversation too, that'd be great. That's another big issue for us here on the show. I want to jump back real quick. Brother Kasim don't like us coming up with that streets to the sweets comment there. He said it's extremely undermining and disrespectful. It alludes that one is getting paid and one's not. Be careful with the language, fellas. It matters. For example, I'd be considered to be the streets, yet knowing that others are getting paid to do the work that they aren't doing, that folks like myself, becomes harmful to the soul. It needs no terminology. Please, let's just do the work. I'm with that all day.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine.
Point
I
taken.
appreciate it. And by the way, I want to make sure I emphasize, if you didn't hear me, that being able to secure 8 acres of land is strategic. It's investing. Very few people that I know of anywhere in the country have been able to do that on a private side in the way that he's done it. So Kasim, definitely don't take that wrong. What I was just saying is that the bridging of the conversation, take off the labels, the bridging of the conversations is where the strength is, and it has to happen.
Yeah, point taken, brother Kasim. Point taken, and we can lay off that. It's all about the work, for sure. Appreciate that very much. Tony Johnson in the chat was saying we need to have a segment now, regular segment with you and brother Kasim on, if possible. What happened? We lost Buddy.
Oh, there he is.
Buddy, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. The camera's kind of getting a little wonky.
Okay.
See what's going on. Give me a second.
If you guys, we would love to bring you guys on. Whatever you guys want to do, man. If you guys want a weekly segment, that'd be awesome. We'd love to have both of you guys on regularly. We've been working up to that with brother Kasim anyway. So if you want to be involved with that, brother Barney, then cool. I think that everybody's really benefiting from the fact that the hearing from both of you brothers, for real, and we can continue on with that. So let's talk about that some other time. But we would love to continue this conversation any kind of way that we possibly can, and any way that you can use us as well for any kind of help with any kind of communication or getting this out. We want to put First Sky out there to do that. We something you said resonated with me last week about it's sometimes when your head is down and you're doing the work, is you forget to stand up and tell people what's going on so people can know what's happening, and even know what moves are being made and so on and so forth. And then we let our imaginations get away with ourselves sometimes when we don't have all the information. I mean, it's just how humans are built. We're finding out that one of the strengths that we have as First Sky Omaha is to maybe help by being a mouthpiece to some of the organization, to be representation, to be able to kind of capture what it is that's happening. You talk about the jobs that you're providing for the youth. I'm sitting here and envisioning First Sky Omaha filming and interviewing those youth about those jobs and really kind of getting the word out. So however it is that you think we can help, let us know. And maybe we can. That's how we can connect. We've been looking for points of connection with you guys, and we want to be very careful about that and have you on and talk about these issues and stuff first before we did that. But now it's starting to form a little bit in my mind about what we can do together. So
yeah, and I think you're right on, Paul. And again, I think that's why I believe so strong in the media. When I came out of school, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, but when I had the opportunity to see the power of the media and what it can do to be a part of the solution, many times, as somebody said earlier, it can be part of the issue. It divides the way it covers our community, the way it, and so having our own voice and having a method to be able to communicate it. And to your point, there have been times where I've taken, pulled back and said, okay, we need to tell people what we're doing. And honestly, when we've done that, like, well, they're trying to take credit for everything. See, now they're talking. And so you can't win or lose with it. So I just said, you know what, let's just do the work and let the work speak for us as much as we possibly can. Let's just do the work. Because as people have talked about, when we started, there was people talk about, well, let's do a press conference. I said, no, we don't need to do a press conference. We just need to do the work. And if we do it well enough, eventually it will show. And so that's one part of it. And we probably have spent, we didn't do enough of this communication, telling people what has, and so you're absolutely right. There's a vacuum created, and then people begin to say what they think, and then that spreads to the next person. And by the time you turn around, there's a whole different narrative going on versus what's actually going on. And we are not the sole answer. We know that, but our whole answer has been, let's do it together. Let's collaborate. And we're one of the few places in the country for 17 years, people have been working and aligning efforts, not agreeing on everything, but when we break the huddle, it's let's go get this work done. And there's more of it. And if we had more investment to take it to scale, it would impact even more people. And so I agree with you. And yeah, I'll just stop there. But it's vitally important that we do stop. I've talked to the team about it. They've actually been encouraging me for the last few years that you got to talk more. You got to let people know what's going on. And so this is a part of that as well. They've been encouraging me for the last few years that we've got to get out and have these conversations.
And it's also the way it's done as well. Yeah, we started this because we were tired of how mainstream media portrayed us in our neighborhoods, and it ended up into this kind of conversation. So to us, this is a kind of a new media. A lot of times when we see press conferences, it's just like how the mayor has a press conference. So that doesn't give us much information sometimes. This gives us way more. So it's also the kind of media we use in the way, and it seems like we're finding a little bit of success in the way that we've set out to do it for us this way. So we just want to extend that and figure out if we can help. Yep.
And to add to that, Paul, and I'm kind of seeing what Brother Tony Johnson is saying as far as weekly update article in Omaha Star. What I'm hearing is there is the opportunity as far as media goes for us to prop up this whole thing where I'm seeing, the Omaha Star has a unique opportunity and position to big up and talk about what is working, what is being done in the community, and to spread that out so people can be aware, support that, and know what's going on. And as First Sky Omaha, I'm seeing us have an opportunity to discuss and have the real conversations about what's not working. To be honest about what's not working, where can we improve, and how can we fix these things, and how can we bridge the gaps that exist. And between that landscape, a lot of information can get out and a lot can get done. That's just an idea that I'm seeing. So Tony Johnson, I'm with you on that. So that's just an idea that I had. And then also I do want to point out something that I'm learning from the Empowerment Network in these two conversations that we've had. And what I'm seeing is when people talk about the Empowerment Network is not just the Empowerment Network. Like when people are talking about what is the Empowerment Network doing, they're talking about what is Hope Center doing, what is Tamika Meese and the North Omaha Community organization doing. What are they doing? What is Charles Drew doing? That's what I'm hearing. So
That's
the Empowerment Network is not the Empowerment. The Empowerment Network is not going to do anything. It's all of these organizations collectively. What is that doing? That's what I'm saying.
yeah, it's a different role that our community, and really it comes back. There's a thing called collective impact that Stanford Research put out some years ago that everybody talks collective impact. You know what collective impact is? Collective works. Black people created collective works. We came together to create churches, to create institutions. When we couldn't go to the movie theater, we had movie theater in the basement of. When we didn't have a printing press and we didn't have media, the church came together, put pennies together, and allowed that newspaper to be printed in the basement of the church. And institutions and colleges and universities came from us collectively put together resources, pooling our resources, and creating our own university system. That's collective works. Nobody has done it better than us. And so now it's coming back to it and choosing to do it, choosing to work together and getting past the barriers. That's what we're talking about right now. And then finding allies that work along with us, not take it over, not tell us what to do, but work alongside us to get the work done. That's the model. But what you just described, it's hard to so the Empowerment Network organization is a collective works organization, communication, data, convening people, bringing policy to the table. How do we structure it? How do we build capacity of the other organizations to serve and work with even more people? How do we take the grassroots? And that's part of what Kasim and I were talking about, making sure that everybody that's doing good work has a level of resources as much as we possibly can to do even more work and take it to scale. So there's an Empowerment Network organization, but then there's an Empowerment Network collaborative, which is exactly what you just described. And most people don't get it. And it's hard to describe until you see it and you're in it. But I think this conversation, hopefully, as you have just said, that it's hitting you. That's why I know sometimes people are like, well, you talk about these other cities looking at what the network is doing. It's not just the network organization, it's the network collaborative approach, because it comes back to the root of who we are is collective works. That's how we have been able to not only survive, but areas where we have been able to thrive in this nation have been when we've done collective works together.
Yeah. Ubuntu. I am because we are.
That's it.
We're gonna go ahead and get you going. Before we do that, I just have one last. I just want to address that there are, we still need to see data. There's still a lot of questions. We still want to make sure that we don't stop holding you, your organization, and other organizations accountable. That's got to be a part of this as well. No matter how hyped we get about positive about the positive meetings and things that are happening. Because I want to honor the other chat chimers that have questions that are looked into things a little deeper and so on and so forth. We'll come to that on another conversation. But I just want to mention that just before we get out of here. It's not just because we've had some very positive things happen and moves made here even in this past week that we're very hyped about, very excited about. It's very along the lines of what we've been wanting. We still gonna ask the hard questions, do the hot seat stuff, and hold everybody accountable, including ourselves. So
yeah,
that's the key. And what you just said, it goes both ways. I have no problem, like I said with you. People say, well, this information comes from on high. It's a certain group. I can show you. I'm telling you that you'd be hard pressed to find an agency, organization, and effort that has been as intentional about gathering the information, ideas, recommendations, and strategies from those most impacted. As a matter of fact, anytime I'm working with other cities, the first thing I say is, if I'm not working with the group unless you make sure that it's community-based and it's collaborative, but it has to bubble up from the people that are most impacted. And let me share this with you, Paul, as you're talking about that. One of the things that we all have to hold ourselves accountable for is exactly that we have to be at the table to brainstorm, to design, to create, to implement, and evaluate. And there's different levels and different ways to get it done, but we have to be involved in the whole thing. We can't just be a part of a focus group and then give it to somebody else and then they go off, run and do it, raise money and go implement a program. Right. In order for our community to be turned around, ownership is really the name of the game. Yep. And it's ownership in how the process, but it's also ownership and home ownership and business ownership and being able to, what I always talk about is being at the decision-making table at the end of the day. And that's why being so involved in things like what the Black Agenda is doing, what the Empowerment Network's doing, what these other initiatives, and we just have to do it as best we can in a concerted, inclusive way. And that's the strategy. That's what we have to do in order to move forward.
Hear that? Right on, brother. We'll get in contact with you on you coming back another time if you don't mind. And,
Yes,
let's
absolutely.
have a
I'm glad to come
conversation.
back. And to your point as well, Paul, the data, that's one of the things. That's why we spend, sometimes we're criticized because we go back to the data, but we go back to the data because it gives us an opportunity to have a specific platform that we can have a discussion and then strategize around it. So I'd be glad to come back, especially when you talk about educational data, violence data, any data. That's one of the reasons we issue that scorecard every year, so we know exactly where we are, not just talking about progress, but here are some gaps. I talk about some of the progress. One of the gaps, home ownership. We have one of the lowest home ownership rates in the entire nation for African Americans in the city of Omaha. Why is that? What do we need to address it? So we don't just talk about progress and happy stuff. We get down into the nitty gritty of, okay, well, here's some of the stuff that's actually that we have to collectively address right now with a sense of urgency.
Man,
So
and
I
we would like.
appreciate you guys. Appreciate the conversation again, Kasim, and others that are on here. The people that are asking difficult, challenging, productive questions. I don't mind it. We have to have that, and we can't be afraid to talk to each other and have those difficult conversations. So I appreciate the time that you've allowed me to be on. I'm definitely open to coming back. Definitely open to having a conversation with Kasim and I. It's up to him, and we can have that conversation. But I appreciate you allowing us to be on to answer some of these questions that really have gone unanswered for a while. Again, we're so busy doing the work. We haven't taken the time to pull back and say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's why you're so critically important to this whole thing. And yes, your role is just as important as anybody's role.
Word up.
Man. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Brother Barney.
God bless y'all. You take care now.
Talk soon.
Likewise. Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Willie Barney, Empowerment Network. We're having the conversations. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we are going to continue to ask the hard questions and to really kind of dig down in. I want to put the challenge out there. He said he'll bring some data back. What's the first data point we want to understand? What do you guys want to look at first? We want to talk about the step up program. We want to find out how many kids getting jobs. Let's really kind of look and see if we can have him bring back some data and see if we can qualify that data and double check on it ourselves as well. So we'll put that challenge out there, and then we'll continue to have these conversations and build as much as we can build. Earlier in the chat, Mayor Sanchez said First Sky Omaha would get funded if we fed people. And he reminded me, if I had my way, we would be the new Black Panther Party and have breakfast programs and all kinds of other stuff going on. I would love to get to the point where First Sky Omaha grew to be able to do, boost to the roots type of stuff too. But what we're focusing on right now is media and information. We're kind of the ministers, trying to be the ministers of information along with people that are in that realm. And also communication, ministers of communication, internal communication and external communication as well. And I think of the Empowerment Network. What I'm learning about them right now is that they collect data, which is something that is very, very crucial to communication, very, very crucial to media, very, very crucial to information gathering and dissemination,
and very crucial to getting support for efforts and programs. I mean, we've had this conversation with the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation and Brother Leo Lewis, who was, working with violence and gang prevention. But, the reality, and he's been doing that work for quite some time, but he understands, and I'm sure a lot of people who are doing the work understands that it's one thing to do the work. It's a whole nother thing to quantify and qualify and to gauge and to measure the work, like to even know what numbers, like you said, to even look for, like how to even get the data, what data to gather, and then how to interpret the data. It's a whole thing. So definitely big shout out to Willie Barney for that.
Yeah, it's a whole science, and our organizations, and we know firsthand because we were one of them, don't do very good when it comes to surveys and gathering data, and so on and so forth. A lot of time, but it is very necessary. It's a very necessary step, and not just for outside resources to come in, but for us to all understand as well what's going on too. So, gathering data is a very crucial point of communication and a very crucial point in the information dissemination. And we're going to have to figure out how to do better ourselves, but as work with other organizations that are also doing it. Like I said, we got to make sure we quantify and qualify the data that's coming in, make sure that that's all the right data, and double check it ourselves. But if it is, and we can trust data from other organizations, then great, because we need that in order to figure out what direction we're all going to move. So, With that said, we'll take a quick break. It's 8:44 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, we'll take a quick break and come right back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
I'll be the dove, Buddi3
Hey.
Da Gawd, all
Yo.
of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners. Thanks for joining us and sticking with us through this 2-hour show. We'll be right back, y'all. Stay tuned.
Won't touch nothing.
Don't you touch nothing. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd.
Hey.
All of you, I appreciate everybody who's going in. You guys are going in on each other today. That's what's up. Have that conversation then. Do what you got to do. Definitely want to encourage the conversation, and hopefully that conversation will be put there in order for us to get somewhere with community together.
Yeah, man.
With trying to get on the same page and be able to make some moves. That's the only way that we're going to be able to do it. Can only move when you move together.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of break it down, man. You got community, you got calm and unity. It's calm for communication and unity for coming together. If you don't have communication, if you don't have unity, there is no community.
There you
Just
go.
a bunch of people.
Jamila Eves in the chat is saying, would be awesome if you guys could host a live audience for one of your shows. Yeah, we're talking about definitely doing that. Building out what we call the First Sky Omaha stage. And we'll have some speakers. And then we also will try to do some roundtables and stuff this coming up year. It's all about funds and finances and help personnel. So we're working on raising funds and building teams so that we can do some of these bigger things. We definitely want to stick with the format that we have here because it allows the style in which we do what we do does allow for a certain kind of communication that gets to some actions quicker. But yes, it would be great to also do live shows where we have people that can kind of speak up for themselves in the audience as well. So we definitely have all those things in mind in order to enhance what it is that we're doing. And one of the things we're gonna have to do next is give Buddy a new camera. Maybe it looks like,
man, I don't know what's going on. I'm still here though. I'm still here. You just can't see me
in the shadows. He works in the shadows.
in the
Straight up. I love what everybody is doing here in the chat, going back and forth, man. Brother Knight in the chat says, got to remember that by the time data is collected, black people are already behind the 8 ball. It depends on who's collecting the data. Depends on who's collecting the data and how close they are to the black community in the first place.
and the work being done.
Yeah, we're all used to census, which takes place like every 10 years, and we know a whole lot of brothers and sisters that don't even answer the door when the census people come by.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
We're not talking to the census as much as we probably need to, and that doesn't just go for our community, but other communities like this Hispanic community, because they feel like they're collecting data on us, and
Actually, that goes right to Brother Stephen Abraham's comment. He says, I love data and the importance of its connection to funding. During my time as a census field manager for the 2020 census, overseeing the operations of Eastern Nebraska under my watch, my responsibility was ensure accurate data collection. We remember that time, especially the 2020 census. We were actually working with drew a blank on the brother's name. Legend football player.
Johnny Rogers?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. We sure did. We didn't done some things.
Man, Brother Stephen Abraham was the manager. So yeah, we were trying to help with that effort, brother. But yeah, we definitely understand the sentiments in our community around the census.
Yeah, and also just data in general, man. Yeah, collecting data on people is such a white culture thing. Like a white supremacy thing to do. It's hard to even approach the community that way. Well, what you gonna do with our data? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and so and I don't know. So I always felt a little funny about that, but that's a shortcoming of me and my organization. You know what I'm saying? Like we should be collecting data. We should be doing surveys. We should have more to be able to account for what it is that we're doing, who we're reaching, who we're talking to, and that would give us a focus on who we can push this out to, who are the likely people that would benefit from what it is we're doing, but beyond ourselves, and so on and so forth. Man, if we can do that, there can be some kind of trust in building data for the Black community that only the Black community can use. That would be great. But also, you're right. If there's any kind of outside help or any kind of anything that we're doing, we're going to have data in order to do those things. And then plus, we can't back away from this fact that we pay taxes all the time on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that money is supposed to come back to us who are paying taxes. So we do have to deal with politicians. We do have to deal with the city and the state. We do got to deal with them on some level because they're sitting there holding our money.
Trustees.
And deciding what it is they're going to do with it that doesn't have nothing to do with us.
Yeah, it's an issue when you don't trust the trustees.
Man, Kimber Snipe says people are concerned about what people are going to do with data because oftentimes people collecting the data have no relationship with that community most of the time. So it is something that needs to be built within the community. And as far as anybody that I've seen right now, Empowerment Network is the one that's probably doing the most data collecting. And so, now we got to ask the questions. What are y'all doing with that data? Let's really figure this out.
Man,
Figure it out.
And that kind of makes me go back to think about like some of the criticism we had of the Empowerment Network as far as the stories, the news of, so many the decline in violence and shooting, and then we're kind of looking, but still people still getting shot. There's still violence in the community. And I wonder how much of that is news organizations putting a spin on the data that they're getting from the Empowerment Network and, the Empowerment Network putting together a narrative.
I wonder how accurate they're. Like I said, we don't trust a lot. It's hard for us to even trust the census. I used to work for Gallup. I mean, there's a whole industry of data gathering in Nebraska, in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And right, most organizations are not black owned, black led, forward black organizations at all.
Right,
It's all data. It's data that's used for something. Like all the data about blighted areas in North Omaha is what's been building things in downtown and Old Market in Tiff Alley. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they doing with the data?
Man,
what are they doing with the data is the question.
Man, actually, speaking of that, it's a perfect time to segue into one of the last articles. We got just about 8 minutes left in the show, and I'm curious about this. The data. What data are they using to make these decisions about the juvenile detention centers?
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's a lot going on. For those who might not know or been paying attention, there been over the last several years conversation about juvenile justice center. Again, a new facility was previously built downtown, and again, as that center was being built, the old youth center DCYC was supposed to close, and now this morning we're hearing news that that might not be the case, and wondering what is going on. Again, the headline reads, with numbers still high, speaking of data, a Douglas County board votes to run 2 juvenile detention centers. Again, this coming from the Douglas County board, who put itself on the path just Tuesday to operating 2 juvenile detention centers instead of downsizing to the county's new, smaller facility that was previously built downtown. The county would open the new downtown center in 2024, but also continue using the current DCYC location under a resolution that the board passed just Tuesday. In the resolution, the board declared its intention to generally house youth held on adult charges at the current DCYC at Douglas County Youth Center, and young people held on juvenile charges at the downtown facility, officially named the Douglas County Youth and Family Support Center. There will be some flexibility to house youth in the appropriate facility depending upon the specific charge and classification requirements. The resolution says the board voted to direct county and youth center administrative staff to develop a plan to operate the two centers concurrently, with the goal of opening the new downtown center between March 1st and July 1st. It will require about an additional 45 employees and cost about another $2.5 million more to run the two facilities, according to testimony at Tuesday's board meeting. The county's board has been in a jam for months over what to do about the downtown facility, as it has now been sitting vacant and unopened for close to a year now. So they built a $27 million youth and family center adjacent to the new Douglas County Courthouse as a part of an effort to improve juvenile justice and reduce the overuse of youth detention. But it now looks like that's going to actually increase. Makes you wonder, was this always the plan?
As Buddy speaks from the void, it does make you wonder if this is always the plan. It is a trip. They have absolutely reneged on what it is they said they were going to do, and we all knew it. Like Tony Johnson said, we don't say bamboozled again. This is Chris Rogers doing. We'll have to bring Chris Rogers on and talk about this. But
he has been one of the main vocal voices, especially from Douglas County board to kind of back this. And I remember we had a conversation with them in the Minus Old days, and I didn't leave that conversation feeling like this is the best, move for our youth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could have asked anybody in the black community whether or not they thought whether or not this was going to happen, and we'd all have been like, yeah, like Wanda Lewis said.
Yeah.
I never thought they were going to close the old juvenile youth center anyway. Anywho, just created more space. Yep. Big time more space. And yeah, we knew this was going to happen. They're doing the same thing with the jails. They got new jail facilities because the old jail facilities are all jacked, except for we got a new jail facility and it's still overcrowded.
And man, Brother Willie Barney kind of answered the question for us, because we were asking, like, what is the formula? What are the numbers? What are they looking at to determine that they're going to need another prison to be built before the one that they just built is even opened? Like, how do they know this? And apparently they're looking at third grade scores, which you add into the fact that it was just reported that over 70% of now freshmen aren't on track to graduate in OPS, as reported.
Can you imagine? I mean, that blew my mind. I don't know if anybody really got, if you guys got this whole thing, but they're saying that part of the data that they look at to build juvenile justice centers and prisons are based on whether or not kids that are in the 3rd and 4th grade are testing well. If they
can read.
If they're not testing well, if they're not reading at a certain level, then they're like, well, I guess they're going to be in jail when they get older. And
let's build more beds.
Literally raise millions of dollars to build more jails in youth facilities. And I'm sure that's only one part of the data that they use. But the fact that it's part of the data that they use is mind blowing to me.
Man.
They're just planning on you going, bro. There's no help. There's no hope. They're just planning on you going. Oh, you a little slow to read in 3rd grade? Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and get a cell ready for you.
Man. I mean, that's real though. That's as we see.
Crazy. Wanda Lewis says, if you watched the commissioners meeting yesterday, Chris Rogers was the voice.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the voice the whole time.
Okay. We run into him in different places, man. We be trying to have this conversation. I can see we need to have him on, ask some serious questions, and have him on again. We've had him on before, so we need to do it again and really kind of like be like, what's going on, man? What's up? What's happening here? Yeah. How is this the thing? This meeting, brother, who was it? I think it was Senator Wayne is put this call out to all black elected officials to get together and have a meeting. He said he got calls back from some, didn't get calls back from others yet. And we'll help with that too, to be able to kind of sit down, because that's what it kind of feels. I mean, like, how can one set of elected black leaders feel one way about a juvenile justice center being built, and another black elected official is one co-signing on that? How are they not talking?
There's disunity. There's no solidarity, even if you don't agree on everything. Solidarity. You don't have to agree on everything. Let's just agree on the main thing.
It's a major thing.
Right. It's very, very interesting. And on top of that, not only is the juvenile justice situation growing, and now we have 64 more beds, but now it looks like The mental health situation is something we should be looking at as well. Not only did the Douglas County Board of Commissioners make a decision on the juvenile justice centers, but also made a decision on the grant that they received from the U.S. Department of Justice's mental health program, which is interesting that that's coming from the Department of Justice. But again, Douglas County Board of Commissioners received a $550,000 grant to expand the county's existing behavioral health initiative. The grant will help in providing a clinical psychologist or assessment psychologist to conduct court-ordered evaluations and testing within 1 or 2 weeks. That process currently takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months. The money will also help the county contact the school psychologist to administer academic testing to help kids succeed in school and identify educational needs. This is very interesting. 2 things come to mind when I read this story. One, just the simple fact that, again, all the mental health services, all the mental health opportunities that we see in the community require a case. Like you have to have, in addition to your record, you have to have some case. You have to have some kind of interaction with the police and be basically labeled as a criminal before you can get your mental health needs. So that's one thing. And the second thing is thinking about our conversation that we had with Dr. Umar about the designation of our young Black and brown, quote unquote, students, our youth, as a health deficient or mentally deficient and special needs and ADHD, and again, more beds, more drugs. When are the people going to be viewed as whole people that just need help and get the help?
This is a question. It's an ongoing question. We don't have the answers to that question. We hope to try to find some.
Yeah.
Meantime, between time, it's 9 o'clock. We're gonna get out of here. Thanks for joining us and staying close. As you can, we told you it's a heavy news day. We'll have to continue this when we continue our show on Monday, because Friday we will not be on the air. So there's some personal things I got to take care of, and we'll not be able to have a show on Friday because of that. So Friday we will not be on the air, but we will come back Monday and be speaking with brother Senators Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney. So just to let you know one more time, there is no show on Friday. We'll definitely go ahead and put out some documentation there on Friends of First Sky Omaha page. If you happen to follow us on Instagram or any of those as well, we'll go ahead and put that there. And I just kind of started a new TikTok, so we need to kind of see what's going on there. You guys are anybody TikTok heads out there? Let's go ahead and find First Sky Omaha on TikTok, and we'll start working on that as well.
Yeah.
Putting some clips down there and so on and so forth. So thanks for everybody who joined us on this meeting today. We will have we'll put our haps in Friends of First Sky as well. Since we will not have a Friday show, we won't have our extensive haps this time around. But please put your haps in Friends of First Sky Omaha group page as well, and we'll do the same and see what we can do. And you guys take care of yourselves. Again, thank you for joining us. We want to thank Brother Willie Barney for coming on, and everybody who's in the chat this morning. Everybody,
thank you.
Yes, really, such great ideas. Please go back and check out the chat in its entirety, the shows in its entirety on Facebook and YouTube. This has been a great one, and a lot of good conversations going on in the chat. I really appreciate that very much. I love what Stephen Abraham is saying. First Sky Omaha, realize your importance of bringing truth to power. Your vibration is being felt in the community. We hope so, bro. We hope so. Well, that's the goal.
That's powerful. Thank you
very much. Buddy, you got some words for the people?
Man, just thank you. That's really it, man. Thank y'all for making this platform what it is, because y'all give us our flowers and our respect, but Paul and I could just be here talking to ourselves. You know what I mean? It really takes all of us to have this conversation and to have the perspectives, and just this wouldn't be what it is without everybody. So we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. Truly love will heal all the things that we're dealing with, man. Not just locally, but internationally around the globe. Love is what's needed now more than ever. So again, tell your loved ones that you love them. Tell strangers that you love them, man. Spread love, spread light. Love yourself. Give yourself some love. And catch us Monday, man. And in the meantime, in between time, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and take it easy.
Yeah, man. Somebody check on Miss Erica Felt. I don't think we heard from her today.
Yes. Thank you.
Pops says, where did Pops say? Where does Pops comment? I just
word to Pops.
Exceptional show. Thanks for another great one. Appreciate you, Pops, very, very much. Yeah. Word to Pops for sure. Man. Tony Johnson said guest host. Yes, that's something we're working on as well. It's part of the content creators camp mission was to try to find people that we can bring along with us on this journey, and hopefully next season, and in 2024, we'll be able to have some people that can expand this as well. Besides me and Buddy, definitely vet some folks and get them up to speed on how we do things here, and bring them on as guest hosts. It's a great idea that we've had for a little bit, and we're going to try to get to it. Yeah. Again, everything is about money and manpower, so we're going to be we're working on that as we speak in order for us to make 2024 a better year, more engaged year. Like I said, we even got a TikTok, so that should tell you something about we're trying to go into the future here, y'all.
Man. Somebody want to help us manage it, holla.
Right. Holla. Yeah, money and manpower, bro. That's what it is. But it all starts with everybody who is just contributing for the love, which you guys all do as chat chimers and ghost listeners, and we really appreciate that very much. So thank you. Yeah, we'll talk about it soon, Brother Johnson. Appreciate you. Yep. Definitely talk about it soon, and some of the efforts that we're doing in order to raise funds, just like the BAA. We really love to be self-sustained and not really have to depend on the outside resources all the time. That comes sometimes and doesn't come other times. So we can't depend on anybody but our collective selves, and that's what we're trying to really do. So we'll definitely be talking about it soon. I want to give thanks to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land. Thanks to our elders for allowing us to speak before them. And also thanks to you, the chat chimers, for allowing us to speak with you. There's nothing like what goes on here at this show anywhere else. So we really appreciate it very much. All the people that are also sponsors of the channel, the $10 people, the $25 people, the $50 people. We got a few here and there.
Thank you.
Appreciate everybody's efforts there. We also have people that kind of anonymously just donate sums of money sometimes throughout the year. Either way, however you want to do it, if you're so inclined, please go to firstskyOmaha.com, hit the donate button, and help us to continue this and get to the goals of 2024 for the things that we're trying to do. Definitely are writing down all the suggestions that you have, and a lot of them matching up to the stuff we've been working on since the Mind and Soul days. So
yeah, man,
it's a matter of sticking to it and getting with it. We've been going for it now for 6 years now.
Ooh. You really gonna ask me that? Since 2017, I remember I walked in the office of Mind and Soul January of 2017.
Yep. So we're coming up on our 7th year in our 7th season. That means something to us. We'll talk about it. We've been doing this for a minute, and we're going to change. And hopefully, like you said, sometimes it just takes grinding through to resonate with what it is to find the purpose, find the people, and resonate with what it is the purpose is. And then get to that next level. So hopefully we're looking at a big change coming up with what it is that we can and we're able to do this coming up year. So there it is. We'll see you soon. Again, no show on Friday. So we will see you Monday.
Yeah, man.
Please, everybody, take care of yourselves. Like I said, check on everybody that you didn't see here. That'd be a great thing. Somebody check up on Miss Erica Felt. Didn't see her today. And we'll continue the conversation. So with that said, Buddy, we already went through your words for the people, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get out of here then. You guys have a good one.
Peace.
By the way, Vanglorious. This is protected by the red